So that's always a difficult thing. Whenever Anil speaks and coming after Anil is a very, very difficult job for me at least. I hate doing that. Have to do it, he's my boss. So what we'll do is we'll kind of, yesterday we were in this aircraft air simulator and Anil was driving this plane and flight and
I killed everybody on the plane, by the way.
So we managed to land safely and all of that stuff. So what I'm going to do is really drive this aircraft and bring it closer to technology, what we're doing, what are the solutions, how we're innovating, where we are partnering, what are the opportunities that exist for us as a team together to go after this massive market. And I'll start from where Anil left off in terms of the global urban services opportunity. We talked about a $3 trillion opportunity. And where is this 3 trillion figure coming from? It's a large figure. And we talked about different examples of how parking is important and lighting is important. So in 2013, we did a study. We went through 41 use cases and we said 250 cities globally. What is the value of digitization? Which would mean, what are the sensors? What is the capability and information? So let me take an example and say, out of those 41 use cases, what did we do? Let's talk about lighting. And I know we're doing smart lighting projects in Russia, in Skolkovo, in Moscow. Lighting today, on an average for a city, costs about $17 per month. If you add energy cost, if you add operations cost, asset management, LEDs, the replacement every 2 to 3 years of the light bulbs, it's about $17 per month is what the lighting cost is. When you convert it into smart lighting, you add LED, you get 50% saving. So from $17, you come to about $8.50. And when you go through smart LEDs, it comes to about $4 per light pole per month. And lighting is the top 2 or 3 expense item for a city. And we say cities don't have budgets and they don't have revenue. So how can we take this opportunity and create value? What we've done is, how do we get to that $3.50? We have a smart LED lighting. We have control systems that connect to a network. The network that is built is a common network platform that allows public Wi-Fi access as well. So not only can you now do smart lighting, but you can also provide public Wi-Fi access. So you save money from a city standpoint in terms of costs. And then when you move on and you add more information, you can do advertisement revenue. So the moment you get into public Wi-Fi, you can have a landing page. A landing page can be sponsored landing page. So there's an ad revenue that you can create. And because of lighting and because of smart LED lighting, there's a lot of economic reports that state property taxes go up. Because property prices go up, you feel more secure. People move in, and when people move in, property prices go up and taxes go up. So city not only saves money, but also creates value. When you add all of those figures, you add and take that to 250 cities globally, and you multiply that by about 4 billion light poles globally that are being upgraded for smart controls and smart LED lighting, that adds to $22 billion. In the previous chart, we talked about the different figures. How did we reach to that $3 trillion? That's how we went through every use case, 41 use cases, and went into all the details. So, one of the things we've seen in smart city development is many cities that have started looking at smart cities, about 3 to 4 years back, they looked at what is a smart city. They were still struggling to define what a smart city is. Then over a period of time, people started doing proof of concepts. Then people went on to do pilots. Like for example, in Moscow City, you have the security, the latest security infrastructure. You have parking infrastructure. You have lighting infrastructure. But if you have a big event, can you allow the parking spots in a specific area to be disabled so that people know automatically that you shouldn't go there and park? Does that capability exist today? Or do you want to convert a few spots to handicap parking based on utilization, and you can decide that for people who are driving in with handicap parking, is there a possibility to reserve some of those parking spots? That dynamic capability today exists in very few cities because they operate in silos. They don't want to share information. They don't want to share data. They don't want to share infrastructure information. It's difficult to do that. And I think that's the biggest opportunity for us. It is for us to work with cities, an opportunity to create value by breaking these silos. And how do we do that? We look at parking problems and we say there is snow somewhere and some spots need to be blocked off. Have that information from the environmental agency. Snow is not there everywhere. Ice is not there everywhere. So how do you collect information from environmental agencies, send it to the parking department so that you can dynamically make new parking policies? Or if you're looking at light infrastructure, if there is an incident on the road, there's a traffic accident, can you strobe the lights from the emergency department so that you can have better emergency response services? That saves tens of thousands of lives. By 5 minutes of better response of an ambulance or a police, you could save tens of thousands of lives. There's a study done in UK. On an average, an emergency response is about 14.5 minutes from the time there's an accident to the time there's a response there. If I can reduce that by 3 minutes or 4 minutes, that's 25,000 lives saved on a yearly basis. So there's a huge amount of value of cross-domain and analytics and information. Traffic challenges. We all know about the traffic challenges. When I came to Moscow, when I drove in from the airport, I felt very close to home because we were using the side streets, and driving through, coming much faster than the rest of the traffic. The side lanes that were there. That's what we used to driving in India, but traffic challenges are enormous. So how can we rethink the whole traffic congestion problem? Traffic congestion in Europe costs European economy about 2% in their GDP. And parking, we talked about, was 40% congestion. So if you can reduce parking and change parking prices dynamically, you can improve prices, you can improve the rate of return, but also you can then improve traffic and congestion. And that's where you can start creating saving. Look at security. Security today is dealt with a lot of video surveillance. When we say security and surveillance, people think about video cameras. But in reality, social analytics today and channels is used for security. We are working with partners that have face recognition technologies, and I'll show you some of those capabilities. With privacy protection, where the police will get and the law enforcement authorities can get face recognition, but the other departments can only look at people and count people and look at congestion. So you could use the same technology, reuse the same technology that's people are investing in, and start rethinking those capabilities. What we figured is if you want to become a smart city, there are 5 things that you need to focus on, 5 technology issues that you need to focus on. Number 1 is, we talked about those parking scenarios, those sensors. Snow versus cobbleways versus roadside, demarcated, non-demarcated, places where you have created boundaries. There are different sensor technologies that are used to solve problems. But each of these sensor technologies vertically integrate into a parking application. So if you have a video sensor, that integrates into its own parking application. And then you create a system integration exercise to start bringing that data and information from one parking spot or one parking sensor technology to another. So if you can normalize the data and segregate parking information and coming from sensors to how people and applications consume that, you can improve returns. Second is, how do you share information between these domains, between environmental agencies to the parking department, between environmental agency to the lighting department, between traffic and lighting? How do you share that information? Third big area and focus was the ecosystem area, which is, there's a difference between open data and open ecosystems. You can't have everybody in the city control your lights. But you can provide information and access about what your light conditions are so that tourists who go to cities can decide which place to go and not to go in the evenings and create revenue propositions. So having that whole open ecosystem capability is extremely important. And what you want to do is don't create vertically integrated solutions. An example in Miami, traffic control systems. There's a cross section of a road. You're waiting in the cross section. There are 5 cars waiting versus no cars waiting. The 5 cars that are waiting, there's a red signal, but there's green for the other side where there are no cars. So what the traffic department did was, they said we'll have a radar counter, a sensor that counts how many cars are there. Based on the number of cars, it can dynamically change the traffic signal. And if you can do that, you can improve congestion and reduce congestion, and you can improve the flow of traffic. So we said that's a great vertically integrated solution, but if I can count the number of cars at the intersection of the road, and if I can share the data to the billboard that's opposite and charge double the amount for advertisements, when a car is waiting on a red signal, I can improve revenue for the city, use that to fund the whole upgrade, and the city can upgrade free of cost. So get away from vertically integrated solutions, and that I think is the major focus that we can enable cities for. And if you can do that without system integration, without spending hundreds of thousands of dollars for any change management, if you solve these 5 problems, you can move to a smart city from a technology standpoint. And these are the 5 problems that we are focused on as a company, based on all the many years of experience that we've been working with different companies. So our architecture involves having a bunch of sensors, partner companies who are innovating much faster than we as a company want to, and that's not a business we want to get into. We want to work with companies that have home automation capability. We want to work with companies who have energy. We want to work with companies that are parking sensors, new innovative parking sensors. Yesterday we were in the city of Moscow, and they were looking at spending, they are currently spending $10 million yearly for public phone booths. 10 million. And we were talking to them about a business model that in New York that they implemented. They had the same phone booths, they had an RFP, and they had many bidders bid for that RFP. And they have upgraded all their booths with the new technology, and we'll talk about that new technology. They've upgraded it, and they've got $1 billion check for the next 10 years. So instead of spending money, New York City is making $1 billion in 10 years. That's the type of revenue New York City is making. Now what did they do? What they did was they created an integrated kiosk. We worked with them to provide high-speed Wi-Fi access. So these kiosks have digital billboards that provide advertisement revenue. Their phones, you can use IP phones that you can go there. And if you're in that vicinity, you get free Wi-Fi access. They have environmental sensors there that's detecting the environment condition and providing all that information into the city, and they're collecting money on the data. And the value through advertisement is estimated to be $1.5 billion in 10 years. So they're keeping 500 million and sharing $1 billion with the city. Now the business model is great. Why can't we, in Skolkovo, develop a technology and a solution together where we embed the best hardened capability from a hardware-software point of view, build the kiosk, build that offering, and take it to the city of Moscow. And if it's a successful business model, and we implement it in Moscow, export that outside to the emerging countries. And that's the opportunity for us. There is value internally, and this is the whole urban services market. So what we are focused on is working with kiosk companies, working with digital signage, working with different sensor companies that we can integrate together, create a product and a bundle offer that we can take to a city to solve a specific business problem that has a huge amount of business value. And we provide the network, and we connect different applications, we connect different sensors, we connect capability right from a LoRa technology to wired cameras, and all of that information can come into our network. We know how to do that. We've been doing that for 25, 30 years. That's how we've grown as a company, we have a software platform, which is the connected digital platform that allows us to aggregate that information, provide APIs for different applications to consume, and reuse that information in a secure fashion. And that's really where we have focused our effort. And we're working with analytics companies, predictive applications to consume that information based on the data that we've created. So those applications can focus on mathematical problems, statistical problems, and they don't have to worry about how to connect to LoRa technology and Zigbee technology and wireless and wired technology, because that's something that we abstract for them, and we just provide them the data. And that's how we see this whole ecosystem evolve. And we are building these application partners and sensor companies locally in a country, because we cannot expect to bring sensors from Brazil to come here. But we can look at technologies that are built here to be applied in this space, and then based on that, some selective applications and technologies that we can export outside. And that's really where we are looking at a bilateral conversation of ecosystem partners. So as cities start deploying many of these sensors, our focus with working with these cities are that don't deploy duplicate sensors and technologies. We talked about the Link NYC, the consolidated kiosk model. And once you deploy environmental sensors across the whole 1,000 places where you have currently the phone booths, the environmental agency can consume the data and charge. You can pay monthly for that. So the environmental agency is not spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to collect the environmental data. They can leverage off that sensor and information and collect that data. And the most important concept for us is about people as a sensor. And where you can start using mobile phone apps and contributing back into governance of cities. Because the city does not need to invest into all different types of technologies, because the person itself is a strong sensor. With your smartphone, you're providing a whole lot of information. And how people and security agencies, traffic agencies can reuse that. There are a lot of business models. We know about Waze, that's an Israeli company that Google acquired for $1 billion, that crowdsources all the information and sends it to Google so that Google can provide you data in terms of what your congestion in any city is. The core network that we are creating, the core capability and the partnership opportunity for us is we have two operating systems running on our networking boxes. One is the Cisco's iOS operating system that brings in the data, secures the data, carries it and transitions it to a data center in a way that has been done for the last 25 years. So we know how to do that very well. But the second operating system is a Linux operating system. So you can write a software adapter that sits on top of a Linux operating system, connects to your sensor, and allows you to use Cisco's network to transfer that information back into the data center. And you start thinking about the business models that we emerge out of that. And we're working with various companies that have built LoRa adapters, that have built wireless adapters that connect onto our routing platform and enable these services that can be carried on. The second aspect is the connected digital platform, and I think that's where we are looking at partnership and we'll be spending a lot of time on. So what we do in connected digital platform, there are only three things that we're focused on. We take data for parking, we take data from traffic, we take the traffic sensors, from environmental sensors. We normalize the data, so we make the application think that there's only one type of sensor really deployed. They don't have to worry it's a video analytics sensor or a LoRa-based sensor or a wired sensor. They don't have to worry about it. And they don't have to worry about the protocols. We share information between the different domains, and we provide secure, open ecosystem access for APIs, through APIs, that allow people to consume all of that information in a secure manner. So for example, the traffic agency can own all the traffic data, but they can share the information about an incident to the lighting agency so that they can strobe the lights in a specific place. Now you don't want the light strobing to be controlled by somebody else, some other department, because how do you manage the lighting infrastructure? So you want to provide that shared open ecosystem access, and we do that through secure key management. The opportunity for us is to look at building predictive applications using mathematical models to start predicting what the traffic congestion is, and using the data that we are consuming and we are providing in real time from all the sensors that are connected. And there's a big, huge opportunity. We are working with a company in water, in the water area. This company is called CH2ML. 30% of all of the cost of water distribution and management comes through the electric motors that sit in these plants. There are huge amounts of these motors run 24 hours and they pump water from one place to the other. What the department found out is there are two motors working side by side. Same throughput of water, one motor is consuming 40% more energy and electricity because it's getting spoiled. But that motor, they could have predicted it based on vibration and pressure sensors. So they are bringing all the different sensors, vibration and pressure sensors, water flow monitors and current monitors. They're connecting it to our IOX, our routing platform. So we are processing that information in the edge and sending that data to a predictive application that can predict that motor is going to get spoiled, so go and replace it. That saves 40% energy. ROI is 4 months. 4 months for delivering that solution. And there are lots of business opportunities that exist when you start thinking about the different verticals in the different areas. And that's where we think the collaboration of having this whole ecosystem is important. Some examples, and I'll quickly run through them. We look at parking as an example, and we have video analytics. We are working with a partner. Now think about snow. If you have in-ground sensors, how do in-ground sensors work in snow? Especially you have snow trucks that are removing all of those snow. So you need video analytics capability that allows you to detect the parking and send that information into the cloud. But the application does not need to know whether it's a video analytics sensor or any other sensor. And the beauty is that you don't have to have a demarcated proper border. You can just detect on how many cars are there, and you can send that information into the cloud. So you can say that approximately 5 cars can be parked here, or 3 cars can be parked, because there's a truck that was parked. So it will automatically detect the size, shape, and the amount of time, and send that information based on platform availability. Another example that we use for video analytics, when you have all of this video surveillance, and you're looking at security, and you want to make sure there's information, people are there. Now if you go to a typical operating center, you'll see probably 256 screens. And you'll see an operator and a police person looking at every screen. He's going to miss some person when it's not clear in the remote area. You can, with video analytics capability, draw a boundary, and the moment he crosses that boundary, there's an alarm and an event that goes there. And there's a company based out in Germany that's looking at providing us that capability. Or another thing with privacy protection. You want to count how many people are there, based on which you can decide whether you want to open up new counters or you want to have new retail places. And you can do that through, if you see this is not very clear here, but you have, this is privacy protection. So you know that there's a person, but you don't see the face of that person. In Germany, that's a big important thing. But the key of that to change that or look at face recognition is given to the law enforcement authority. So the law enforcement authority looks at this information. They can actually find out who that person was, but the retailers can use it to count number of people. So you use analytics for 2 purposes, not one. And that's really the value of reusing that data into the platform that we looked at. Another example is social analytics, and we talked about immigrants. So in Europe, people want to know who's immigrating, how many people are immigrating, where that information is. And immigrants use a lot of the social channels. They use Twitter, they use Facebook, they use all types of social media, Instagrams. So this company, what it does is it takes information, open information that we publish for everybody to read and see, from 21 different social media channels, collect that information, provide analytics on sentiment analysis. What are the immigrants feeling about a city? Is there somebody's tweeting about a bomb or some secure issue, sending that information to a law enforcement agency? Or there's a traffic incident and a congestion happening. And this is a social media analytics capability that's bringing information from all these channels and providing all the social analytics. And this is where here really bringing the network platform where we look at information. The other application is that how you can bring all of that and aggregate that information into one central command and control capability, so that you can provide analysis on who the person is, where he was, how long did he spend time, use facial recognition information, where did he park his car, things that today is very difficult to track, and information that's very difficult to track. So you have a central command and control center that brings in video information and data information against a geolocation context. And these are different applications that we are working with all our partners, and I'm giving you some ideas. That doesn't mean it's limited to these ideas, but this is how we are creating the end-to-end solutions that we work with our partners with. This is the Link NYC, the concept of that $1 billion kiosks that we talk about, where they're making about $1.5 billion in just New York City alone. An integrated system where the city is using it to help to move the citizens from one place to another, ensure we're providing information, all of that. So city and citizens are communicating with each other, plus it's used as an advertisement platform. Another example is all of us use metros, and all of us use buses to move from point A to point B. You talk to the metro operator CEO and a bus operator CEO and ask him, at any moment of time, how many passengers are moving from point A to point B in real time? The CEO of that bus operations, whose job is to move people from point A to point B, does not know how many people are there in real time. So when he's provisioning and buying buses and buying new trains to ensure that the congestion is managed, he's spending millions of dollars of extra capacity where he might not need it. So there's a company that we work with that's actually taking data from CDP, because we have Wi-Fi access data, we know how many people are there in the bus stop. We have bus data, we know how many people have gone in. Everybody has a phone nowadays and they're connected either using Bluetooth or buses. We provide that information real time to a fleet management application that they already had. So now they can optimize their fleet management to ensure in real time they can send buses if it's a congested route, or not send buses, reduce that information. And that saves millions of dollars for the transportation authorities and improve overall customer experience. So some other applications. And my favorite example is really this application. We talked about lighting as an opportunity. And in the lighting space, in the city of Gaya, what they did was, it's about 50,000 people that live in that city. Every 10 years, we have a cultural festival in India. It's about 1.5 million people go at any moment of time. So what they have implemented is they allow people to download for $1.50 or about 100 rubles. They can download an application and they can strobe the lights if there's an emergency situation. Because the city is designed for 50,000 people. If 1.5 million people are there at any moment of time during that month, there's going to be security issues. So you can use this as a panic button and alert, and that creates revenue generation. So how can you use and reuse data to create new applications that might be relevant in an Indian market? They could deploy it there, but there might be different applications that are relevant to this market. Using data and rethinking the business model is what is really where we are spending time on. Is there value to the city? Is there value to the city? We did a ROI analysis to say that if the city builds this consolidated infrastructure, works with partner ecosystem, works with different application companies, what is the investment they make and what is the return they get? And we looked at this example where we are looking at 20,000 parking spots, 10,000 lighting, 20,000 parking spots, 100,000 lighting poles, about 250 kilometers of traffic management and information. And we looked at, they deployed multiple types of sensors and lighting, and they spend on the network, they spend on the applications, they spend on operating expense. What is the 5-year ROI? How much is the investment and what's the return? The total benefit to the city was $135 million in 5 years through parking revenue, saving in lighting, improving of congestion management, security, all of these benefits. And the total investment was much lesser. So there's a net incremental value that the city got about $53 million in 5 years. Every month they are not implementing this capability, they're losing that value. Because this was value that already existed in the city. It's just the digitization as an opportunity. So as a company, what we have done is that how we have built our strategy is we are focused on just the network and the software platform. We want to enable our partners, either home automation partners or fleet management partners, sensor companies, video analytic companies, social analytic companies. We want to bring that information in real time, securely carry it into a data platform, provide those applications, predictive applications, analytics capability, and starting to rethink the whole business model. The business model that Anil talked about on how we can rethink the strategy and package those solutions and provide it to the city to consume. So you've got Cisco certified logos, you've got Cisco certified capabilities that allow the city to know that we have tested this application out in a lab environment. We have tested this application out in a pilot, and we have certified that application, and it has the right amount of security with right information, and we can send that data to there. What that means is that we need to work with an ecosystem of partners. We can't do it alone. We don't have the capability, neither cities want us to work alone, we want us to work with the ecosystem partners. We work with citizens in the citizen engagement conversation of earning $1 billion and a half dollars of revenue. Ultimately, it's the citizens that are targeted for the advertisement revenue. So we have to bring in all of the stakeholders in a cohesive form with the digital platform to create this ecosystem that can go after the $3 trillion market that we talked about. And that's broadly our solution strategy and how we're working with applications. So I can open it up for Q&A or further discussions. I'm happy to do that. It's too much information, too less information, too high, too detailed.
Could you please share with us some real example how startups can use your platform and how maybe you already have some successful stories?
Sure. So I can talk about 2 or 3 specific areas where we have worked with. There's a company called Sensity that we worked with based in the Silicon Valley. So what they had was they had a lighting control capability and they had the video analytics. In fact, one of the slide information was from them, where they are detecting the cars, number of cars parked and using video analytics. So that company was is about when we started working with them, they were about $100,000 in revenue, total revenue. They had about 30 employees. They had built some good technology. We partnered with them. We integrated them into our network offering and into our platform. And they just got sold to Verizon in about 12 months for an undisclosed amount, which was in excess of about $300 million.
How you have some specific business model, how you provide your platform, what price, what like this?
Sure. So most of our platform, the network infrastructure typically gets deployed as capital expense. And the sensor are normally deployed as capital expense because cities want to own the asset. But our whole software is on a usage basis. So the city has to pay $0, they're not using it. Only every time they connect a sensor do they have to pay any amount of money. And the whole goal here is that Moscow City can own and spend probably $15–20 million to build a platform, spend that amount of system integration. But the smaller cities don't have the money to spend for that type of platform. They want to have a pay-as-you-use kind of an offer. So the applications and the solutions that we provide, software, are normally on a pay-as-you-use basis, but typically the cities deploy these equipment. But in lighting as an example, I can tell you that there are lots of financiers that are getting in with energy-saving business models, where the return on investment is between 3 to 5 years. Then somebody's ready to put the money, own the asset, and say get money out of the energy saving, and in that sense provide for the technology. So there are different business models that exist for waste management. As an example, if you think about the fleet that in Barcelona city, they spend about $1.5 billion every year to collect all the waste across the whole city. If you can optimize that by 3 to 5%, that's hundreds of millions of dollars of saving over 3 to 5 years, which then allows you to invest into the sensors, because that's how they're going to make that saving. So every vertical, there are lots of business cases, and some of the business case ROI figures that we talked about are real figures, where on an average for a parking spot, digitization of a parking spot, it costs about $1 a month for a city. $1.20, $1.30 a month. And if the city can improve revenue over and above that, they're going to make save money. So Uber is a great example, and Anil was talking about the billion parking spots in US in terms of the amount. In San Francisco alone, if we add all the parking spots and if we digitize them, their value is over $40 billion. That is equal to Uber. $40 billion just in San Francisco alone of digitization of parking spots. So there are lots of these business models that have started to emerge, and we are working with partners. Everywhere we work with all of these partners, these solution partners that provide this capability. There's a company from Korea that we invested in, it's called M3, and it has a whole visualization technology. When we invested in them, they were about $7 or $8 million of revenue. Today, in 3 years, they're about $27 million in revenue. They're operating in about 14 countries, based on the fact that we were able to help them because their technology was unique. So we were able to partner with them and bring them into our offering and then take them to the other places. And that's really developed in Russia for Russia and then for the rest of the world. And that's really what we have been looking for.